Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to just talk about some of the things that have been going on over the past couple of weeks in relation to the Overwatch League. Been a lot of stuff that's happened, a lot of stuff has gone on, and so I just kind of want to cover some of the things that we've seen news of and just kind of give you my thoughts on them because I never really talked about them. The first thing is I want to talk a bit about the playoffs, because if you are not aware, the playoffs were originally scheduled to be in person and are no longer in person. They are now going to be completely online through Project Aloha, as we have seen. So this is something I hadn't really talked about when they announced it. It's been a while now at this point in time since that announcement came, so what are people talking about, and kind of what are my thoughts on it? So obviously, as most people, I am disappointed and a little. I'm upset that we're not going to get to see the live in-person LAN events that we have had for most of the season, that we haven't had for most of the season, that we were going to get finally here. But obviously, the Delta variant, and it's bad in Texas, it's bad in California, just some high-populated areas and other factors have led those two places to being pretty bad with the Delta variant. So it is unfortunate to see, but ultimately I think it is the best decision. I will always, as a viewer and as a fan, I will always hope that the league promotes the best thing for health and safety than just, we want to have LAN, and I think that's the best thing, and the reason why I am very supportive of the league's decision. Yes, it stinks to not have an in-person grand finals and in-person playoffs. We were all kind of hoping for it, and we were all waiting for it, but this is just something that I think is necessary, and it's overall better for the league, and so I don't have an issue with this. Prioritizing player health and safety is the way to go, and so I'm all here for this decision. I think that Project Aloha is fine. I think it is still going to be good to see. I mean, we have our playoff bracket now, which just looks incredible. I mean, I think the 8 teams we got are arguably the 8 best teams in the league. You can make some arguments that maybe because of the way that it works, there's 5 Western teams and 3 Eastern teams, maybe one other Western team or Eastern team would have been better, and would have provided like actual 8 best teams. But I'm pretty happy with what we have. I'm pretty happy with the 8 teams that are in, and I think that it's going to be a really, really, really fun and interesting playoffs, and I'm excited to see what happens when we get into the postseason. I thought the tournaments were great this year. I thought they really were. I thought they were incredibly entertaining and fun and enjoyable. So getting the same type of thing going on with this, to me, is going to still be just as good. But speaking of Overwatch League and the tournaments and stuff, we did have news also recently that the Overwatch League viewership this year was better than in the previous year, which is, I actually think, a very impressive stat to look at, and very interesting and very awesome to see, because I think that the league put a lot of time into the preparation of this season, and with the amount of time off between seasons, I feel like the Overwatch League almost needed this season to be really big. And so that's something that's really good to see. So I'll put a little image up on the screen so you can kind of see this is something from the Overwatch League itself. But as you can see, there was a 79% growth in the average minute audience, which is basically, to my knowledge, they take the view time, amount of views, divided by the time streamed to kind of get you that number. This is just from YouTube. This does not include things like Bilibili in China or many other streaming services. This is just from YouTube, so keep that in mind. So it's always a good thing to see the league getting stuff like this going and having good viewership growth. Obviously, another big jump in with the Summer Showdown, 77% growth. It was the weakest of the tournaments, and it still had pretty good growth, which is kind of ironic because I thought the Summer Showdown last season was the best tournament, but it was just the league itself was not really keeping people's interest as much last season because of the pandemic and just people not really following the league as much as a result. And the Countdown Cup with a 91% growth, which is much better because the Countdown Cup was, I think, the worst tournament in 2020. And then you also had the June Joust, which had 113,000 AMA, but there was no June Joust in 2020, so they didn't really include it. But if you read the fine text on the bottom, it does say the Overwatch League added a fourth tournament, the June Joust. In 2021, AMA for that event was 113,000. So this is really good news. A lot of people have been, crying, the Overwatch League is dead, Owl's dying. And after the 2020 season, it was really bad. The numbers were terrible. They did not do well in 2020. But as we get into 2021, we see a very, very, very big jump, a much bigger growth in the league viewership, which is definitely a step in the right direction. And I think that when you look at that, that to me is a very good sign, and it's something that I am happy about because the Overwatch League, of course, is something I'm a big fan of, and seeing them obviously gain popularity going forward is a very, very good thing. So that makes me very happy, and I do love seeing that. I want to take a quick step away from the Overwatch League real quick. I'm going to jump back into it at the end, but I do want to talk a little bit about this other news that we got that I've been meaning to talk about. Obviously, I have been talking quite a bit in the past several months about the Activision Blizzard lawsuit and things we've been seeing there and the response. So I wanted to talk a bit about the news that we got. Actually, I believe it was the day after the playoffs announcement. So it's been a little while at this point in time. But the Overwatch team, and I'll put their statement up on the screen so you can read it, came out with an announcement that they were going to be changing the name of McCree. Now, McCree's name is one that I have not been saying recently because of the connection of the name of the hero to the individual at Activision Blizzard who was named in the lawsuit, who was involved, or not named in the lawsuit, but involved in the events that the lawsuit describes. And so it was something that we'd seen casters stop saying the name, and it was something that I believed was kind of necessary, and it was something that we needed to see a change in the name, and so I'm very happy that they are going with that. Now, I've seen some people kind of take issue with the statement in the sense that they didn't really, the statement doesn't really say anything other than just we're changing McCree's name. And I've seen some people saying, like, this isn't enough, like, this doesn't do anything. My stance on this is the game devs they don't have the power to change the entire culture and leadership within Activision Blizzard. If they did, they probably would, but they don't have that power. What they do have the power to do is change things in their game, and what they do have the power to do is remove real-life names and stuff, because it's a dangerous path to do, and that's why I agree with them saying going forward, in-game characters will no longer be named after real employees, and we will be more thoughtful and discerning about adding real-world references in future Overwatch content. Because 100%, that is the way to go moving forward. Like, it is silly, in my opinion, to name characters after real-world people, because this is the risk that you run. And it's, I'm a very I may have a different opinion on a lot of things than other people. You know, I'm of the opinion, for example, like statues. There's always a conversation about statues, especially in America, and it's a political thing that a lot of people kind of get into. And so to avoid getting too far into it, I'm personally of the mindset that like we don't really need statues of real world people, because real world people are always flawed and they're always an issue, and there's always a problem that some person in their life has done something terrible, and there's always the risk that that becomes their legacy or that something else about them comes out. And so I'm of the opinion like I don't think we should idolize and memorialize people for all of eternity, because I think that it's just asking for issues and problems. And so I think that doing this is the right move. I think that changing the name of the hero is smart. And officially going forward, the name will not be a name that I use until we get the new name. It's just the Cowboy Hero, or Cowboy, or Shooty McBang Bang, I think is one of the names that I've seen people say. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm intrigued. They mentioned that there was supposed to be a narrative arc in September, supported with new story and game content. So I don't know if... I think it could have something to do with the Deadlock book. It could have something to do with Overwatch 2. Who knows exactly what it was, but I think this is a good change. I think this is definitely necessary, and I'm happy that the Overwatch team made the right decision to move off of the name and move into something more, hopefully just better, and something that will be a better representation of the Overwatch universe going forward. So the final thing I want to talk about is something I already made a video on. I talked about the news that we got that the 2022 Overwatch League season would be taking place on an early build of Overwatch 2. And I think that is very, very interesting news. And like I said, I made a video on it. I talked about it. So I'm not going to go too into it, talking, in full detail. But I think that this is interesting news. I think it's great news to see the next season of the Overwatch League going into Overwatch 2, even if it's an early build of the game. I want to kind of talk a bit more about things I didn't really cover in the last video. In terms of expectations for it, I definitely expect there to be no PvE type of content showcased at all. I think that's obvious. It's an obvious response, but I want to make that clear that that's my expectation. I also think that the way that the league will probably operate, I wouldn't be surprised if there were no new heroes when Overwatch 2's Overwatch League thing happens. It's possible we could have beta by then, and maybe by then, we'll have Sojourn, we'll have a couple other heroes. So it's only possible there will be some new heroes. I think when you move to 5v5, there should be at least one new hero, because I think people would be a little bit less interested in it if there wasn't a new hero out. We already know that Assault is leaving. It's not going to be in Overwatch 2. So my initial reaction is we probably won't see that many new maps, but we kind of have to see some new maps, unless they only want to play on 3 map types, which I suppose they could do, but I don't think they would, because that actually just seems like a terrible way to operate, only having Control, Hybrid, and Escort. So they'll probably have some push maps. I would hope they would have at least 3 by the time this kicks off. But like I said in the past, it's 7 months away. So the chances of us having a lot more content by then is very high. And if the release is planned to be in the middle of the season, in May, in June, or something like that, then by then there'll probably be a decent amount of content that's finished, and they'll probably spend the next several months kind of just focusing on finishing up the PvP side of the game, and then polishing up the PvE as they get closer to release, because that'll kind of be the best way to make sure that the game is good for the Overwatch League in 2022. while still making sure that they can hit their release timeline and make sure that the PvE content gets finished in the way that they need it to. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's a very good move. Like I said, I talked about it in a whole video. I'll have it linked in the cards and in the description if you want to see that, and hear my just kind of initial thoughts to it when the news first came out. But I am definitely 100% in favor of this decision. I know the teams are kind of, there were reports from a couple weeks ago now, maybe like a month ago, that a lot of the teams were kind of anxious about the 2022 season, because they were like, we spent all this money to be a part of the league, and the game itself is not in a great spot, and a lot of them didn't want to run a whole nother season on Overwatch 1 because the game just wasn't getting the content and stuff. So now we have obviously the confirmation that's going to be in 2022, Overwatch 2 early build. So that's a good thing to see. So I'm excited to hear more about the news. Obviously, we're not going to hear much until after the grand finals, and the season kicks off in April, so we probably won't hear much until probably January at the earliest, and even then we might not hear much until after that. It really comes down to what are we going to hear about Overwatch 2. At this point in time, I think as soon as this season ends for the Overwatch League, my focus is no longer on the Overwatch League. I don't really care about what the Overwatch League is going to be doing in the off-season. Obviously, I hope they're doing content, and I hope they're doing things to make sure that we kind of know what's going on. But my eyes will be completely turned onto the Overwatch development team. What are you going to show us? Do we have anything that you can give us for us to feel confident in what's coming next? Because that to me is all that matters at that point in time. So we'll see what happens. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. But for now, we're just going to have to wait. But that's all for me for today. Those are all the things I wanted to cover today. Let me know your thoughts on anything I talked about in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video and want more like it in the future, consider liking and subscribing. That is all from me for today. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy. And until next time, bye-bye.